Mazda 3 made quite the splash when it entered the segment back in 2004. It was a replacement for the then aging Mazda Protege, and today the vehicle is actually already in its third generation. What you're looking at is the fully redesigned 2014 model. Now this vehicle has created a lot of hype for Mazda. When it was first introduced in 2004, it really upped the bar for the compact car segment, and it quickly became known as the offering that offered sporty driving dynamics, a premium interior, and just a level of quality that you just couldn't find in this segment at the time. When Mazda redesigned the vehicle in 2010 with the second generation, it got a lot of knock for its styling, especially that grin at the front. For 2014, Mazda has completely thrown away that old styling dynamic, and they've gone with their new Kodo design language. Now, we first saw the Kodo design language back in 2013 on the CX-5. Mazda showed us a redesigned 6, and then now it's this vehicle's turn. And this is Mazda's all-star player. This is the best-selling vehicle in their lineup. Now, it's available in sedan and hatchback form. What I have here is the hatchback model. From the hatchback or sedan, you can choose between two different engines. Mazda goes with the I for the lower engine, the smaller engine, and then the S for the bigger engine. What I have here is an I Grand Touring. Grand Touring means it's the top of the line model. You can also choose between the base Sport and Touring for the I models, or the Touring and Grand Touring for the S models. Now you can see the front end has totally been just changed. The grinning front end has been replaced with that huge gaping grille that the company introduced on the CX-5 and the 6. The headlights just have a very sinister look to them. You can distinguish this as an I model from those relatively small 16-inch wheels. Believe it or not, this is the top-of-the-line I model, and those 16-inch wheels come standard. I kind of think they are a little bit too small. The S models will add the fog lights in the lower housing, as well as the standard HID headlights with the LED daytime running lights. The I models just simply don't have them. You can see the vehicle looks very striking, especially in this Soul Red paint, which Mazda just charged about $395 extra for the Soul Red paint. And you can see the hatchback model is very, very attractive. It actually almost looks like a sedan from just the front. You can barely tell it's a hatchback until you get to the back, where every Mazda 3 model will have the dual outlet exhaust. Before, you had to get the bigger 2.5-liter engine to get the dual exhaust, but now all of them include that. If you go for the S model, they'll also give you features like LED taillights in addition to larger 18-inch alloy wheels. Checking out the interior of the all-new Mazda 3, it's a very familiar environment if you guys are used to current Mazda vehicles. There are a couple of new features in the technology standpoint for this vehicle that the other Mazdas just don't have yet. Now, because this is a compact car, it is a little bit lower to the ground, but it's still a relatively easy step-in height. You can see that screen right there is new. No other Mazda has that new technology touchscreen screen just yet, but you can see the Grand Touring model, it comes standard with push-button start, so basically keep the key fob in the vehicle, push the clutch in, because I luckily have a 6-speed manual model, and push the button to start the engine. And then what you're hearing is the 2-liter Skyactiv 4-cylinder. That engine was carried over from the previous generation. Now looking at the windows, they're actually only automatic down and up for the drivers. The passenger window does not get the same feature. That's kind of expected. All the other vehicles in this compact car class have that. Now, you can see that 7-inch screen right there. It's always out. It doesn't actually retract into the dash, which I kind of think it should, especially since it not only does it make it look a little bit aftermarket, praying eyes might see the screen and think it's aftermarket and then try to break into your car trying to steal it. Now, one thing that's surprising is this is actually a touchscreen. You can actually just touch it here and it responds like every other normal touchscreen, or you can control it via this control knob right here. This is Mazda's command interface knob. Push the home button there, it takes you back to that screen. Now, this screen is actually 7 inches in diameter. It's a very nice, colorful display. I really like the way it looks. It looks much better than the older system found in the CX-5 and the new 6. Now if you go to the navigation screen, this is kind of a variation of the TomTom unit that the other ones have. I actually like the map graphics. It's very nice looking for, I guess, what you get in this type of vehicle. You know, other vehicles in the class really only the Ford Focus. They offer a much more elaborate screen. Hyundai offers a pretty decent screen, but this is not bad. I actually really like it. The command controller knob, it feels really sturdy. It gives you the little push and the kick, and you can push it here and scroll or zoom in and out, so it works really well. Your music sources, when you click FM here, you have AM, FM, XM, you have AHA, Pandora, Stitcher. Your USB and your aux will be found in here. which Mazda finally got on the USB bandwagon. Until 2013, all their vehicles only had aux ports. Now, going to the rest of the interior, the materials here actually have been upgraded from the previous model. You have a soft touch dashboard material, and it's all very nicely well finished. I really like the silver painted plastic with the piano black trim accenting it. I really like the simple controls here. You have your dual zone automatic climate control. You have 3-level heated seats, which the old model actually gave you 5-level, but it doesn't matter. The seats get really hot. The door panels, they're actually soft touch right here as well. Very nice, very nicely detailed materials in here. Red stitching, red contrasting stitching with leather stitching, or a leather padded area here where your elbow is going to rest. I actually even like the faux carbon fiber look trim here with the matte finish. It all looks very, very nice. It actually carries over to the steering wheel where you'll have controls for your cruise control, your audio, Bluetooth function, the same red stitching. And then the gauges, I'm a little bit torn by them because this 2-liter, all the 2-liter models come with a tach that looks like that. And the tach, honestly, while it looks kind of cool, with the manual transmission model, it's just hard to see at a glance. If you guys go for the 2.5-liter engine, they actually replace this whole speedometer with a tach and they give you a digital speedo instead. I kind of like that more, especially on the manual models. Mazda kind of has it flip-flopped around, honestly, for me. I think that the manual model should have the big tach and then the automatic model should have the small tach. That's just my preference. Now, speaking of the manual, I really like the manual transmission. It's a very, very nice clunky shifter, decently okay throws, but it just feels really good in your hands. I like the shifter as well. The clutch is also on the lighter side. It gives you a surprising amount of feel, although the gearing is probably one of my issues with the vehicle. It's been tuned for fuel economy, which I'll get into more about that when we get into the test drive. Now, a backup camera is becoming increasingly popular in compact cars. In fact, the Honda Civic and the Toyota Corolla offers it as standard equipment. For the Mazda, you got to go for at least a touring model and then add the technology package. It's standard on this Grand Touring model, but here, when you put the vehicle in reverse, the screen actually gives you a very nice clear view. It has distance markers, but it does not have trajectory. Overall, I kind of think Mazda should think about making a backup camera as standard equipment, at least on the touring models. The touring models come standard with blind spot monitoring. I kind of think they should probably have that reversed. Now, the iGrand Touring model will come with these leatherette seats. It's actually not real leather. If you want real leather, you got to go for the S Grand Touring, while this only gives you the faux leather. It's very convincing. It feels really nice as well, but you can't get the things like that Mazda advertises, such as the driver assistance tech. You won't find features like the adaptive cruise control, the iE-Loop regenerative braking technology, forward collision warning, lane departure warning. You have to go for an S Grand Touring model with a technology package if you want that. Now, looking at the back seat, the Mazda 3 has always had more of a cramped back seat. If you want the biggest back seat, you got to go for a Civic or a Corolla. Those will give you the biggest back seat, or a Sentra. But nevertheless, it's not a bad place to spend time still. You actually have a good amount of foot space underneath there, but honestly, you can tell the legroom here is pretty tight. There's no vents back here. Don't really expect that. At least Mazda did give you an armrest here with cup holders and some nice padded area here where you can rest your elbows. Surprisingly, the door panel didn't carry through. It's actually hard touch plastic back here, but at least it is leather stitched right here with more of the faux carbon fiber trim. Overall, you know, the Mazda 3 is designed to be the sportier offering in the segment. If you want the bigger back seat, there are better choices out there. Now, opening the rear cargo area, I would definitely recommend the hatchback. If you guys go for the sedan, you're only going to get about 12.5 cubic feet of space. That's average for the class. The hatchback gives you about 20 cubic feet of space with the seats up. Fold them down and it'll expand to about 42 cubic feet of space. That's a really good amount of space, and you can see here it's actually really nicely finished. This is a dealer accessory right here. I actually kind of really like it. You also get a nice floor mat right here, a cargo mat to protect the cargo area. And overall, the hatchback, I think it's the best looking and it gives you the most amount of space. Now, taking a peek under the hood will reveal two engines available in the Mazda 3. My particular tester has the standard offering. This is the company's 2-liter Skyactiv G 4-cylinder engine. This is basically the same engine they introduced on the Mazda 3 back in 2012. What Skyactiv means, it's basically Mazda's way of saying it's got a high compression ratio, it's got a special 4:2:1 exhaust manifold, and it's got direct injection. The numbers are 155 horsepower and 150 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you guys want more power, you guys go for the S model, you'll get a 2.5-liter Skyactiv 4-cylinder. That's the same engine out of the Mazda 6, 184 horsepower there, 185 pound-feet of torque. A nice improvement over the 2013 model's 167. Fuel economy, that's a top priority now at Mazda, and this particular model is rated at 29 in the city, 40 on the highway. If you guys go for the sedan, you'll get 30 in the city and 41 on the highway. While the 2.5 liter actually is not bad, you'll get about 27, 37, or maybe about 28, 38, depending on if you get the IE loop technology. But overall, this vehicle runs on regular grade gas, it has a 13.2 gallon gas tank, and fuel economy, that's its specialty. Let's take a look at how it all drives. Now the Mazda 3 has always kind of been like the anti-Corolla. This thing has always been marketed as Mazda's bestseller, and it's also their product that people probably associate the brand's Zoom Zoom tagline with. So with this 2014 model, let's see if Mazda has preserved that characteristic. Wow, you know, for a 2-liter 4-cylinder with only 155 horsepower, this thing is really peppy. Honestly, I was a little surprised by the little bit of wheel hop and second gear tire chirp when I shifted to second there, but this thing is pretty quick. I expected 0 to 60 time of just under 8 seconds, maybe like 7.8, 7.9. This is a 2,800 pound vehicle. It's roughly in the norm. If you guys go for the S model with the bigger 2.5 liter, you're going to gain about 200 pounds. I mean, this thing is really, really nimble, and corners is really where the Mazda 3 shines. This thing is just incredibly neutral, flat, and responsive through the corners. I mean, the steering offers an incredible amount of feedback. Despite being an electric power steering system, this thing is just really, really fun, and it gives you a lot of confidence. So I'm pleased to say that Mazda has preserved that handling characteristic. The shifter is not as snickety-snick precise as, I guess, a Honda shifter, but it's actually one of the better shifters in the class. It has a really nice clunky feel through the gates. It also has a really nice, decent throw. The clutch could use a little bit more feel from me, especially when I'm first starting out. There were times where I was kind of confused on when the clutch was actually going to fully engage. The one thing I don't really like about this car is when you're going to rev match on the downshifts. I'm going to, for example, I'll put into second here. It doesn't respond as quickly as I'd like. There's a little bit of lag time between when I actually push the accelerator to match the revs to when it actually does it. But other than that, if you're going to drive the car like a normal person, when you're not going to drive it like an enthusiast where we like to throw it into corners and shift really hard, this thing is really nice. It's got a very taut, planted, and firm ride, but it doesn't feel punishing. Mazda really upped the refinement in this car, just like they did in the 6, where the quietness is much quieter in the cabin. The ride comfort is a little bit softer. The steering is really darty. It gives you a great amount of feedback. The visibility in here is also great. I have a really large side mirror here with a great view out of the front. The only issue is out of the back. That D-pillar is really, really thick. So at least Mazda does give you the blind spot monitoring. Honestly, there are times where I rarely needed it. This thing is just really small and it's really easy to see out of. The seats are also another high point for this vehicle. They're very well bolstered. They're very comfortable. The leatherette material, it feels like the real deal for me. And honestly, the entire driving dynamic of this vehicle is just very, very excellent. Well, all that said, we're coming up to the end of this video, and a lot of you are probably wondering, how much does this Mazda 3 cost? How much does the new one cost? Well, thankfully Mazda didn't increase the price too much. Base models will start just under $19,000 for a sedan I Sport model. The one I'm driving here is an I Grand Touring. Now this is a fully loaded model. They come pretty well equipped, honestly. The sticker for my tester is $24,600. That's actually a really good value considering I've got the leatherette seats, I've got navigation, I've got push to start, blind spot monitoring, a backup camera. A Honda Civic EXL is roughly the same price. The Corolla will be a little bit cheaper. A Focus will be a little bit more expensive. Now, if you guys are going to step up to the S model, that's where the Mazda 3 gets a little bit pricey. The S Touring model will be in the $26,000 range, and if you guys want everything, if you want the new IE loop technology, if you want the new adaptive cruise control, the lane departure warning, if you want all that stuff, that's going to cost you close to $30,000 for that model, and that's kind of a new high for a compact car. That makes the Mazda 3 the most expensive compact car, but it also makes it one of the most premium compact cars. You have the new sleek Kodo design language, you have a very high quality interior, you have technology and driver assistance features that you couldn't even get on a compact car, and you have the promise of 40 miles to the gallon. And to be honest, I've been averaging about 28 miles to the gallon. I've got a heavy foot. When I just did a pure highway drive, this car did about 37 miles to the gallon easily. And if you guys are going to be driving more conservatively, there's no doubt in my mind that this thing would easily do, 40 miles to the gallon on the highway. So with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my overview of this 2014 Mazda 3 6-speed. If you're in the market for a compact car, make sure you put this one on your list. It deserves to be at the top of your list, especially if you're the anti-Corolla. You want something that's incredibly fun to drive, that's incredibly stylish, looks and feels like a more expensive compact car. With all that said though, there are a lot of good choices on the market, but I definitely think the Mazda 3 is one of the top choices. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all later.